Yeah, so the first thing I have on here is about downgrades. I don't remember entirely, but I think at some point we did support downgrades of minor versions. I can't remember how far back it went. Um, but I was looking into it at some point recently, some downstream things, and right now it's like broken entirely on a bunch of spots. Um, and so I put some of the ones that I know are messed up right now. So one thing is the way we handle our migrations doesn't work. If you add a new migration and then you try to downgrade to a version before that migration existed, then the like migration current thing is like set to too high of a value, and it just um, loops forever trying to finish the migrations. It never finishes. Expects it to eventually get to a number that's lower than where it's at, but there's no way for it to go down. So you can't do any migrations in that way. And then upgrade states. We added a couple things to the upgrade state. There was something related to MDS. I don't remember the exact fields. And because we had that there and it wasn't in the previous versions, they can't load the upgrade state out of the JSON properly. So downgrades don't really work at all in situations where those things are different. Um, Basically, I was just going to have a general question here of do we want to continue to try to support these downgrades? And if so, I guess we're going to have to keep track of which things could possibly break it and try every once in a while before the minor releases get out. So I guess we'll start with that. Does anybody have any thoughts on whether we should still be trying to support this? Like where it should be? Obviously, major version downgrades we're not going to support, but like across say a minor version or like two minor versions or something, how far do you think this is worth worrying about? I know for myself, I was thinking maybe just cross like a minor version or two, probably maybe just one. Like right now, I don't think we even handle that.
So from memory, I believe we always supported minor versions, but not major versions. Um, but the migration thing is rather painful. It sounds like we have to implement like a reverse migration to support that correctly, which is, I don't know if
Yeah,
that's worth it.
I don't think so. I was looking at this for some downstream thing, and in order to get the downgrade to work, really all I had to do was just lower the migration current number to the value. Like it maybe did some migration thing, but usually the things it's doing the migration don't hurt. You put them backwards. There might be some cases where it does, and we have to be careful of that. At least the ones we have so far, I don't think they'll kill you. It's really just that the migration current being too high just makes it never finish the migrations.
Okay.
And that one I
Yeah.
think could at least be fixed fairly easily. We just have to lower the number too high.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I think there's one or two instances we'd have to tease them out where we transform things in a way that we would break a service if we downgraded it. Um, we'd have to figure out which ones those were.
The thing is, we can't actually control. It's like the last bullet point I have on there. I can link this in case someone's on. That we can't really do anything about the versions that are already out there. Like you can't say, oh, we're going to fix downgrading to like 16.2.5 because it could already be broken, and you can't change 16.2.5 at this point. So just something for the future, maybe across Quincy versions. We can try to do that. I don't know about maybe for the first, we get a couple of things in. Maybe for the first Quincy major release, we can just try to then support it across the Quincy minor version. And I think it's migrations in the upgrade state that have been the ones that have blocked so far. I don't think anything else has been a huge deal.
For a point of reference, in Rook we do, I guess, allow downgrades. Like there's nothing that we do that prevents a user from doing that, but it is something that we expressly don't support. Um, which is, I mean, being able to roll back is part of like Kubernetes philosophy, but with storage and Ceph, sometimes it is very challenging. So
Yeah. I don't think there's anything we'd explicitly be going out and like advertising, like you can do this, but it would be nice because like if there was a bug that you're like, oh, I want to get away from this bug, I want to go back a version. be able to go back and then have it say if you try to use a Ceph ADM like upgrade backwards and cluster just breaks. Not great. It would be nice to get it across minor versions if it was possible. So, I don't know. So I'm kind of in favor of trying to figure it out, just getting the couple things that are broken right now working, and then seeing if we can get that into Quincy, and then just across Quincy version, see if we can handle it. I don't think it's going to be a thing in Pacific. Like it's just all the versions are already out, is what it is. But we have a chance with the new major release to maybe support this. So
Yeah, the trick with downgrading in my book has always been are your persistent things like on disk formats and wire formats, things that are shared between different code bases, like is it stable enough or not? So if you're like generally, minor or XYZ, if Z's always don't, if you have a good policy of saying, oh, we don't change on disk format, it's safe to downgrade to an older Z, but it helps to know. And if the project's big or people don't communicate, and the next thing if the code is really naive, it's just like opens the file and pulls in content and it interprets it completely wrong. That's worse than blocking downgrade because now you've got scrambled data. So I just wanted to throw that out there as food for thought. I don't disagree with anything that's said so far. I just want to cautionary tale kind of thing. I've been there, done that. It's not fun.
Yeah, at least on the Ceph ADM side, I don't think what I've seen testing it breaks anything extreme. It's really just Ceph ADM itself that becomes inoperable. Like you have to modify manually a bunch of these sort of like behind the scenes config things for storing like data structures and that, and it gets like to an okay spot. It basically has to remove a few things, and then it can sort of fix itself. But it's just I don't know. There are minor things I feel like we could do. Brought up here.
Yeah, one way I've worked with it in the past is like feature flags. Like as you add a feature, you add a flag. And so if the older code sees a flag in like a well-known field that's like, I don't understand this, then it can just refuse to start. Occasionally people try to do it on versions, but that's hard when you're doing stuff like CI. And you're like, the XYZ branch has this and ABC branch has this. Anyway, I'm not saying we need to do anything in particular. I'm just, getting it off my chest.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like there's just a lot of things you have to worry about there. Yeah, so I don't know. I feel like I guess kind of go with trying to support it across minor versions if it's possible. But there might end up being instances where it's too tricky, and it's not. I don't know. It's not a high enough priority to block certain things for that. But I feel like right now we're in a spot where it's possible. It's mostly works. Only a couple things that are broken, and so I think we can fill it for Quincy at least, unless we add something new across the minor versions there. All right. Then I have anything else you want to say about that one? It's not an important topic. I just wanted to have any ideas.
So I think that not only affects FADM but all the other models as well, because everybody must be aware that we can go back to handling data structures, as John pointed out. You have to be very careful because you could install something that added some new fields or whatever, and then when you go back, then you go back to recover, but you go to worst status in the cluster.
Yeah. I mean, generally, what Ceph does when it does these, it works the same way as the upgrade. So it fully redeploys the daemon with the new container. So a lot of the time, it'll still sort of work on that front, and the problems end up lying with us rather than other places. But I guess that could also be an issue. Which is why we don't want to explicitly support. But I know we at some point tried to, and I think we kind of forgot about it. And I feel like we're so close to it still working that I kind of wanted to hold on to it a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, as kind of a joke, you could say, oh well, yes, we allow downgrades as long as you pass dash dash. I know this might break my cluster, but I don't care, kind of thing. Yeah, I'm not against fixing individual bugs that prevent it in Ceph ADM layer. It's just one of those things where if the system isn't designed from scratch, kind of to have the knowledge that this might be attempted, you can kind of shoot yourself
Yeah.
in the foot from time to time.
We could maybe try to figure out the versions. I don't think we do that right now, where we try to actually find the version of the grades. I don't remember. Um, we could try to do that and require a force flag if we know they're going back. That's risky.
Yeah, I think that might be a nice compromise. Just as, I'm taking the risk upon myself. Ceph itself doesn't promise this will work, but it in a if I was on ABC and I wanted to go to ABC -1, C -1, um, that might work because there's usually a small delta between those.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the force flag is a good idea to start, and then maybe fix the small things. And I'll try to keep my eye on it. But again, it's probably not going to be a big thing. All right. I don't want to spend too long on that topic. Um, the next one is because it's sort of related, actually, the upgrade state. So I've had a couple people ask about putting more things here. I guess I think the tracker link is actually not really about the upgrade state. It's an upgrade history, which is a totally different thing. But generally of like what things are most useful to put in the upgrade state. So like say like uh, right now I think we have a list of completed services. There's target image, whether it's paused or not. This is a general message field. Really anything. I know that again, there have been a few asked people to improve this. Like I think somebody wanted, what was it? I think wanted like all those types listed out, and they just wanted to instead of having like basically instead of completed services, just have it almost like split into two groups where it's like these are the ones that are done, these are the ones that are not, instead of just not listing anything for the not completed ones. There's also the issue of persistency. I think because we do the failovers at the beginning, and I think the other cases we do restart the managers as well when like the monitors change and things. And some of those times the um, fields will get like reset to nothing like temporarily because I don't think we persist all of them the way we do certain ones. And so it's a question of whether we want to do that. Then that also ties into the downgrade thing because then we have to worry about that there. Um, but basically, it's just more again a general topic of what do you think is worth putting in the upgrade field? Is there anything we should still add that we don't have? Things like that. If anybody has any opinions. Seem like it. So I guess I kind of wanted to add a couple things to it. I kind of like the idea of having the services we still need to upgrade be in there. And I kind of want it to persist to some degree when it finishes. So like when the upgrade is over, have a message saying it's complete instead of just having in progress be false. I thought that would be a nice thing to have there. People who are just checking that. Um, it would require persisting the upgrade state after the upgrade is over, which requires some changes there. But I kind of like the idea of it, be able to say like, not instead of just then not having anything listed there if it's over, just have an actual message saying like it's done now. Maybe like when it finished.
If keeping the state around for a long time bugs you, you could add another command, which is just like, oh, thanks system, I'm totally cool with you forgetting about the upgrade state now.
Yeah, do that. Yeah, have like a clear or something.
Yeah.
Clear. Yeah, yeah, we could have something like that. Or we could maybe even put it into the upgrade stop. We could maybe use use upgrade stop for that.
Sure.
I like that idea. Yeah, it doesn't sound like anyone has any strong opinions on this, so I'll probably just go forward. Propose a couple things. I'll put a PR up. I'll see people's opinion there. So the next topic we have in here is generally just the format flag. This is something that came up in a meeting earlier today. John, do you want to start us off on this one?
Sure. Yeah, this was originally kind of riffing on a downstream bug. Someone saw something like one of the various commands, -- format XML, doesn't actually return XML. It just blats out JSON, -- format YAML, blats out JSON. No matter what you ask for, it's going to give you JSON. And they were kind of, reporting this issue for one particular Orch command. But I've seen this problem generally, partly through my work with Ceph. So I've kind of been kicking around an idea in the back of my head that what the manager Python code at least needs is some side of support for something akin to HTTP content types, where the -- format flag, if you give it, a format, it will either tell you, it'll either convert to that format or tell you, no, I don't support this format. Actually, right before the meeting, I was drafting just some dummy pseudocode. Did I paste it into the what should I call it?
Either that, or you can push the commit somewhere and then just link the commit.
Oh, there's no commit. This is me playing around. Is it kosher for me to just paste something into the Etherpad?
I don't think there's any strict policy for the Etherpad.
All right, so if no one minds, I'll just drop this. I don't know what just happened. Jump to the bottom, hopefully.
Yeah, you've got posted there. I can see it. Object formatter.
Okay, yeah. So that was my kind of, like, again, this is 5 minutes before the start of the meeting, so it's not, well, actually during the meeting, I'll I was doing it a little bit during the meeting too. Anyway, this is my silly, off the cuff. Basically, the idea is that for functions that opt into this new style, and so the old ones don't all need to be converted right away, we just have a decorator that is ultimately responsible for returning the response from the manager to the client. And so if it sees -- format and it says, basically your function, you're required to return like a Python dictionary. Once you do that, it will do, for JSON, it'll call JSON.dumps. For YAML, it'll do the YAML equivalent. And then for something that's a little bit more flexible, like a text format where you might want to say, walk over the fields and print them line by line, you would provide your own writer callback. And if you have the same, from the NFS work, some of the objects are reused from some of the calls. You could reuse your callbacks. So if you had like a export info type object, you could provide the same iterator, same formatter for the for call A and call B. Anyway, this is really super duper speculative, but it is something I would be interested in helping out with if people think this is a good approach.
Yeah, at the very least, I like the idea of a decorator for at least finding if we support the command or support the format type.
Right.
I like this format you have here, where it's just list the ones that we have, and it's true or not. As far as actually having the decorator responsible for any of the conversion work, it's a bit trickier.
Yeah. Okay.
But at the very least, I think that the validity stuff with the decorator would be really good. So we don't get these people asking for XML format. We don't support an XML in anything right now. Or YAML on our upgrade state or something.
I think it would be a lot nicer just to, if they do -- format XML or -- format TOML or make up something, it'll just say, I don't know what you're talking about, rather than turning them JSON
Yeah, I like
or
the idea.
text.
Sure, there'll be some implementation details with like some of the commands that already take the format flag and some of them that don't,
Sure.
all that
Yeah.
stuff. But I think in general, yeah, I would support sort of a verifier.
Well, if no one objects, I might experiment with this and do like a draft PR based on the NFS, because that's where I've been looking recently, and kind of use that as a demo platform. And maybe in a week or two, I could demo that here.
Yeah, I'm in support of it. Anyone else have any? Sounds like supported.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
All right. Does anyone have anything else you want to say on the format flag before we go to HANFS stuff? No. All right. So who added this topic here? The general questions about NFS.
And this was me. Yeah, this is mostly me just trying to information collect. I know that there at least was still ongoing conversation in Ceph ADM or in the like Ceph ADM and adjacent world around how to handle NFS HA. We are. I have been looking at Rook's like NFS handling a lot more closely, and it is. I don't know. It's sort of don't have HA in that world. We certainly do have parallel scale out, and we have HA in the sense that if an NFS server like dies, the pod will be restarted. But we don't have like an active passive failover sort of scenario. Yeah, so I guess I'm just trying to kind of understand like what have you done in Ceph ADM, or like what kind of conclusions have you come to, just to help me kind of understand more of the domain of this, I guess.
All right. There's already been a current topic. We've been, I think, doing this very recently. So I'll say the things that we already have. So for one, the actual daemons themselves failing on the host, that's covered by just sort of systemd. We just kind of rely on systemd to restart things that fail there. And then the work that's been going on recently has been mostly about for hosts that go down rather than the daemons themselves.
Okay.
So we've been working with offline hosts. Mike has actually been testing some of the stuff. We have some patches open in pull requests that aren't merged in. So the idea is that if there's a whole like fencing thing around it that Sage implemented a while ago, but essentially if like they have like a sort of major and minor rank for the NFS daemons, and if like the one with like the highest rank or something goes down, or one of the other ones, or I guess yeah, so if the highest rank one goes down, we'll make sure that one gets put somewhere else over a minor one, and then if just to explain it right, essentially we'll remove the NFS daemons around if a host goes down, so that they're in a good spot and so they can keep going. And really the big challenge with that is not moving the NFS daemons, it's finding the host is offline fast enough that you can move the NFS daemon and get it started within 90 seconds, so that the grace period hasn't ended already. So that's where a lot of our work has been going recently. And yeah, so we have a few things open for that. So we had a general issue with SSH connections. Hitting these super long timeouts. If it didn't shut down properly, it was like a unclean like cutoff, like the network cable came out or the host just lost power or something. Like it wasn't working properly. So we've been trying to fix that. And then just generally detecting hosts offline. There's I've implemented a sort of thread that just is intended for that purpose, basically just to check if hosts are online every, I think it's 20 seconds or something. Only certain hosts, I guess, that have the NFS daemons on them, basically. And there's been some pull requests that's been very long open that's actually responsible for doing the moving the NFS daemons if they're on the offline host to an online host to keep HA up that way. So there's that, and then also I guess we have the whole thing with the ingress service where you can have the HA proxies and the keep alive daemons deployed along with them. That part has actually been implemented. It's already in there. It's been there for a while. It even is in Pacific. I mean, I guess that's all of it. I think it's mostly just for daemons failing, it's system D. We have the ingress stuff around it, and then we've been working on offline hosts, moving the daemons around. And there is a fencing system that Sage implemented for knowing which daemons are like most important and where they have to go. And we're just working on our offline host detection stuff to be able to move the daemons from or onto the correct host afterwards. So I think that's generally the current state of it.
Just to clarify, the keep alive D is responsible for IP failover, correct?
Yeah, I think so. It doesn't help with the daemon itself being on like a dead host.
Right.
The IP stuff. I don't know. Hey, Mike, do you want to comment on this at all? I know you've been testing a lot of this stuff recently.
Yeah, that's a pretty good summary. The only other kind of difficult issue I've noticed is that we have to have more nodes available to reschedule during failover than there are deployed NFS head ends. So by way of example, if I have 3 head ends and 3 nodes and one of the nodes fails, that completely blocks all Ganesha clients whatsoever, which seems related to somehow how Grace and the consistency works in Ganesha core. And so until that rank is redeployed on another node, all the clients are essentially stuck, which is unfortunate because we have 2 of the 3 head ends still available.
Is this only if the highest rank one fails, or is it also if the lower ones fail?
Also the lower ones, yeah, and
Okay.
either or. So I dropped both rank 0 and rank 2, so kind of did a test both directions and saw this behavior.
Yeah, with rank 0 and 1, it still doesn't do anything?
No, it doesn't, yeah. So essentially I just had a client reading and writing on a NFS mount and then just pull out the network cable on whichever rank I chose.
Yeah, so I guess you almost have to have enough, you have to have an extra host available in the placement or to put them on.
Correct, yeah. Which in Kubernetes you probably likely do, but in Ceph ADM, who knows?
If you had a very explicit placement, then
In a case where there's exactly the same number of nodes as your required deployments, does the system allow non-HA mode by failing over one instance, say the same, essentially co-locate one daemon, or is that just a no-go today?
right now it's not implemented at all to co-locate those. I think is NFS one of the services that allows that, and we just
So we allow co-location of 2 different NFS services, but not 2 daemons within the same service, I
Okay.
believe.
is it because it has like a static port right now? Is that why?
No, I think it was for the failover case because it really didn't make sense.
It's really sad to hear when you have 2 nodes and all of a sudden, you still can't do anything.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
I wonder if we maybe should allow some sort of co-location in just for that purpose almost. Like you could put one of them NFS teams on the same host as the other one just so that it stays up. But I don't know, it feels like it should work just in general without having to do that. I need to look more at how NFS works. Like, why can we not use it if the rank 2 one is down, the rank 0 and 1 are fine? So we can deploy it with just not doing a rank 2 one. It's like we need the third one. But if we do deploy it, then it's broken if it goes down. Seems odd.
Right. So as far as things go, this is not a solved problem in Ceph ADM either.
Nope. It's like I think it's our sort of next big thing we're gonna clean up. Like there was a lot of work on it last year, and it got some of it done, like the ingress stuff, and then like the mapping like the ranks and everything, the NFS daemons that Sage put a lot of time into. But as far as the case where the host goes offline, we've never fully gotten that handled. That's sort of the next thing we've been working on over the last week. Like I was mentioning before, the problem with the SSH timeouts and the detecting the offline host faster. That was like the first step of that. We have to be able to detect them fast in order to be able to do anything. And now I guess we have to clean up what we're actually doing in those cases. Because right now all it's implemented is if you do have enough hosts to put it on, like say you had, you gave us like, you put a label on like 5 hosts, and you only want 2 NFS daemons, and then you pick 2 of the 5 hosts to put them on, and then one of those hosts fails, we will move them. So that actually will work. But it's in the cases where there's no new host to put the daemon on that was on the failed host, that's not doing anything. So we just solved that case.
Gotcha. Yeah. I guess mostly just thinking aloud, I wonder if fencing will be something we have to handle in Rook as well. And I wonder if we will, because like certainly it is possible that, we may have multiple nodes in a Kubernetes cluster, but they all might not be like labeled as available for the NFS. So I wonder if some of those things are also still a concern. I think other questions that kind of follow-ups that I have are like how are the like scale out NFS servers handled like in Ceph ADM, or is it generally assumed that there's like an export per server, or is it like configured some other way?
Sure. Mike, do you know the answer to that? Curiosity. I don't remember how the exports to server.
I'm trying to follow the scale out question. Like we're not talking NFS exports, we're talking something else, right?
No, it is NFS export. Some of this is I think just my kind of ignorance of the domain showing.
Okay,
yeah, some reading that I have done has kind of indicated that a good strategy for like having multiple active NFS servers is to have like an export or maybe like a subdirectory served by each server. That's, I mean, something that's pretty complicated. So I'm trying to understand like if there are other ways of having multiple active NFS servers in a way that is useful without really going to that fine-grained configuration.
I've never heard of a deployment like that. We store most of our exports in a common Rados object. It's shared between all the daemons, so it's just a include directive in the conf file for each Ganesha daemon. So each daemon gets like a SIG-up and just reads from that Rados object, and they all have symmetric import or exports, all the same.
Okay, and then is it just a matter of some client will choose which NFS server to connect to?
So that in Ceph ADM we do that via a VIP through HA proxy.
And is that also kind of related to the ingress where like user, like effectively client goes to HA proxy and then gets directed to a particular NFS server?
Right, exactly.
Okay, sorry, I'm just trying to take notes here. Is there special handling that has to be configured to keep that client server connection, right? Because I know the connection is stateful to the server as far as I understand. Is there special handling that needs to be done to make sure that the client is always connecting to that particular server?
I believe this is why we did the ranking thing and why we have that other issue expressing itself. I'd have to look deeper into that one. I do know, like, as a matter of fencing, what we do is we do a key ring, a suffix key ring per daemon, and then we remove that key ring when we redeploy the ring somewhere else. So therefore, that essentially fences the old node. And each daemon's deployed with a new key ring, but that key ring is, has an affinity with that rank. So we always expect the same number of ranks.
That cover you're asking about?
Yeah, I think the last question I had is whether there are special NFS like configuration options that are deployed for HA.
I don't think so. I think it's just there's like an ingress flag you can pass when making the cluster, and that puts down the ingress daemons. But I think other than that, we're just kind of handling NFS, assuming it's almost always like HA. Like we're just moving them around like that, like where we redeploy them off the offline host to the right ones. Always. We don't like handle it. There's no like flag to say, oh, we need to do this or not. We just always do it.
Okay. Yeah, if there is like a like baseline NFS Kinesia like config that's like plopped down, it would be helpful for me just to kind of look at that. I think I'm wanting to make sure what we have in Rook is still an appropriate default, that we're not setting things we shouldn't be setting or missing things that we should be setting. I had one question and I kind of lost it in a bunch of other thoughts. But yeah, I mean, this is all really helpful. I'm just trying to kind of start scratching the surface and understanding the domain of it more.
Right. I think we should have some template for this somewhere. What you're talking about.
Yeah, I was just looking for it. There's a Jinja template. Almost have it. Let's see right here, and I'll paste it in the pad. Whoa, large. Okay, there we go.
Yeah, this is all really helpful. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Anybody have any more comments we want to bring up real quick about HANFS stuff? All right. In that case, that was our last topic. So, speaking, unless somebody has something else you want to bring up, I think we can just end. All right. In that case, I will see you all next week. Yeah. Bye.
Great.
Thanks.
See you.
Thanks.
Bye.